Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Jonathan Pritchard. Mr. Jonathan, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Doing well. It's been a good day so far.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan. Firstly, you are a business consultant. Can you please, Mr. Jonathan, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Jonathan?
You got it. Let's see. Over the past 5 years or so, I've talked to about 1,300 business owners about branding, marketing, sales, conversion rates, their website, just basically everything that goes into being a successful business in the digital age. And a lot of it boils down to having really good communication skills. Your brand communicates who you are so that the right people will like it. Your marketing communicates who you are so that the right people will reach out to you. Sales, you're communicating with folks to make sure the right person chooses you instead of the more persuasive bad option that's not going to do as good a job of solving their problems as you are. So it's all communication skills and persuasion put to use to help businesses help more people.
Exactly. I completely agree with you, Mr. Jonathan. Communication is very, very important when it comes to sale, business, even communicating with business partners. Communication is very vital. If communication is not there, it will be really, really difficult for one to execute anything that one wants to use to bring more sales or anything that one wants to use to improve his or her life. And I also like to dive to the point of book from your experience as a consultant and someone who has or taught a lot of people in the life you've come for. Have you written any book regarding to that, or are you planning to write any book in the coming future, Mr. Jonathan?
Hmm. I've written a couple books. Some of them are very, very short to the point about like memory techniques and how to learn something more quickly. There was one book I wrote called Think Like a Mind Reader, which is I've spent 15 years traveling the world as a performer, specializing in a type of entertainment called mentalism, which is a kind of magician that specialized in mind reading tricks. But it's all communication skills and just having the gumption to pull it off. So after shows, I get the same 15, 20 questions about, oh, how do you stay motivated? How do you do so much? How do you do this? How do you do that? So I put all those questions into one book form so that I can just say, here, read this book. And then that was out for several years. And then based on my experience being the sales trainer at one of the country's largest digital marketing agencies, handling very technical sales and very long sales process for business to business enterprise level stuff that's really challenging. So I trained all the new hires, I architect the entire sales process, and based on that, I go, oh, okay, this works. So I've started writing my system into a series of books. The first one is out. So it's basically like how to sell like a mind reader. And the first book is all about just the first conversation you have for a very complicated sales process because if you don't have a good first call, you're never going to get that second call. And everything that follows starts from that first conversation. So if you can have a better first conversation, you learn everything that you're going to need when you have negotiations 2 months later. You can remember you mentioned this in our first call, and that kind of ability to get that valuable information as early as possible that isn't going to come in handy for another 2 months. That's exactly how a magician thinks. So, teaching people how to do better enterprise level sales is one of the most valuable things that I can do. So, that book is out currently. I am now writing another book about how to use performance
Mhm.
in trade shows to make your booth a party so that you get more opportunities to connect with the right people. So again, it's all about performance and business coming together because it's show business, and most business people ignore the show part, and most show people ignore the business of making a living doing what they do. So just trying to talk to both worlds and help them understand you guys can have a lot of fun if you talk to each other.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Mr. Jonathan. There are various steps, principles that are needed for someone to have this calls. As you said earlier, the first call is definitely going to, develop out the second, the third, even the fourth call is going to emerge. So having that call, knowing the principle, the step one could take to have that call is very, very important. And that shows the value of the book you've written. And we hope that more books that bring such ideas that could help one when it comes to speaking to people to get sales or get um, a deal that could really help his or our life would definitely benefit. And I also like to dive to the point of negotiation. We do know that communication is very important. Without communication, then there is no deal. Like there's nothing that could go forward from there. But when it comes to negotiation, there could also be principle or step that one could also take to have a successful negotiation when communicating. And what do you feel like are the biggest mistake people make when also negotiating in one way or the other, Mr. Jonathan?
I think the biggest challenge people have is being too focused on being nice in negotiations and giving up when it's uncomfortable. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be deliberately difficult, but asking for what you want is uncomfortable for most people. So if you don't do the uncomfortable thing, which is ask for what you want, you're almost never going to get it. So you just have to be more comfortable asking for what you need and being open to creative ways of making that work. Otherwise, you're not negotiating. You're going in hoping they decide to give you what you want when you don't even tell them what that is. So you're expecting that other person to be a mind reader and read your mind for you. Yeah, that would be more comfortable, but you know what? That's not how the world works. So you've absolutely got to speak up for what you want, which again is uncomfortable. So lean into that discomfort and you'll get a lot more out of all your relationships.
Completely agree because some people just find it that difficult. They just want to feel like they want to say it, but they are not going to the right point. Like, what are we talking about? Speaking on the main point is very, very important. It's definitely not a easy thing. It makes someone feel one way, but it's definitely not easy. And I would like to dive to the point of someone that is already strong enough. Someone that has developed the point of speaking about what he or she wants. This is what I want, and he or she knows how to give that communication. There are steps. Someone have to know how to give that communication to the person. He or she knows how to do that well, but there could be situations whereby the person who he or she is speaking with refuse or decided to probably speak in a way or compromise or one thing or the other could happen by the way. So, what do you think are some tip for negotiation with people who refuse to compromise with that person, Mr. Jonathan?
You're forgetting, well, that person, not you. That person is forgetting why you would even negotiate in the first place. Negotiation is the process of finding creative solutions for both people. For that to happen, you each need to have something that the other person wants. If you don't have something they want, there's no negotiation. They're not going to talk to you. So If you refuse to understand what they need from it and why, then you're just a toddler demanding your way. And that's not how great business happens. So it's more about you can be dedicated to what you need and what you need out of the relationship, but you've got to be way more open to how you get that from the relationship. Because if you dictate what it is and how you want to get it, well, you're not allowing them the freedom to find creative solutions to help you solve your problem. So it's that you're trying to manage both sides of the equation. You're trying to tell them what to do and how to do it, and most folks don't appreciate that. So you can be very clear about what you need out of the relationship, be open to how that relationship can meet those needs.
Thank you so much for that insight, Mr. Jonathan. I think getting a reason to have that communication and knowing how to implement those communication with the other person will definitely go a long way. And I would also like to go to cultural differences. You know, you are an American, I'm a Nigerian. You know, there are a lot of different cultural differences there. So I would like to know how cultural differences also impact negotiation when negotiation is going on, Mr. Jonathan. How do you think cultural differences impact negotiation styles and also the outcome that could come with that negotiation, Mr. Jonathan?
It's a very good question. With We could spend years on that one for sure. The the big picture is that yes, cultural differences absolutely matter because if you don't know it and you insult your host or you insult the person you're trying to find a solution with, well, they're not going to be open to doing business with you. So you absolutely have to learn how the culture works that you want to do business in. Under that, human beings all have the same fundamental psychology. So you need to feel respected, you need to feel important, you need to feel valued, you need to feel useful. And different people prioritize those different needs differently. And the way you get those needs met are culturally relevant, but they're all the same needs. So you're still dealing with humans to humans. And once you understand the fundamental motivation behind why they're even open to having the conversation in the first place, then you can start to figure out the right way to have that conversation. But that's a higher, more abstract level than the fundamental, we need to solve problems. And that's what business is.
Exactly. We definitely, the problem is the main thing. And I do not know, Mr. Jonathan, this will be the last question, sir. Do you feel like communication, you know, having sales communication, do you feel like there is a type of way, type of platform that is the best way to communicate? Do you feel like email is the best, or video conversation is the best, or phone call is the best? Do you feel like there's a way like that is the best way to have this type of conversation, Mr. Jonathan?
There's a reason why we're on video right now because you can see me smile, we can see each other, right? So best is usually in person where you can sit down and you're in real space with that other person. Second best would be video because it's such a high bandwidth communication channel. You can see and hear me, and you can put the visual and audio together and see, okay, my body language, that kind of thing. Text only communication is good for point of fact communication. How many pallets did you need? How many board feet did you need for that project? I need you to tell me some fact or detail, and that's it. if you're both trying to reach an understanding about some multi-dimensional problem, text-based communication is the fastest way to miscommunicate because on a call or in person, like think of comedians. Comedians can say horrible things and you laugh because you know they're being funny. But if you wrote it down and then emailed it to somebody or texted that to somebody, you've made an enemy for life. So if you are a more kind of like a consultant for your clients and their website is atrocious, it's awful. Their 2-year old made it basically, right? You can say with love, man, this website is awful. You're going to spend all this money to get people to a site that's not going to convert anybody. So that you have to get this fixed, right? You know that I'm saying it because I really care for you and I want this to work. But if you just emailed, "Hey, your website's awful. It'll never convert anybody. Get this fixed." You're like, "Whoa, whoa." Like, "Hey man, like why are you being so mean?" Right? So that's why you should absolutely study comedians who are masters at communication and being able to say truth in a way that people will hear it rather than, well, I'm just being real, man. And that kind of I'm attacking you to attack you approach that is so easy to happen when it's just emails.
Exactly.
So
I completely agree. That means one needs to definitely understand the type of communication he or she wants to bring out because there's some communication that it has to be in person. There are some that one can just give the email. It depends on the type of communication. Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan, for that insight. Lastly, Mr. Jonathan, there's a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, there are a lot of things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Jonathan, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Jonathan?
accountability,
Mm.
because on the internet, where you could just be a number or a false account with a fake picture, you can behave however you want. I'll never see that person again. So you become untethered from the consequences of treating other people like they're not people. If you treated people the way that the internet lets you treat people, back in my grandpa's day before there was an internet,
Hmm.
you would get, how would you put it? Negative feedback immediately, usually in the form of getting beaten up, which would tell you that behavior is not okay, right? So I would think that it's that kind of accountability and direct to direct human to human communication would go a long way in today's digital first approach.
We do know that community is really fading. We're really missing a lot of community. But I think one should just treat someone the way he or she wants to be treated. We need to be accountable for whether anything good or terrible we've done to the society. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Jonathan, for the time and the opportunity on speaking on a valuable, important topic, which is communication and negotiating in the best way that could help someone to move forward in the life he or she has come for. Thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for letting me share my ideas. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Jonathan. Bye bye.